mentioned this last time on the live stream. We've Scott, who does our live streams most of the time and knows what he's doing, has bought. He's a cobbler now. He bought a shoe repair business and he's learning how to repair boots and high heels and stuff, which is pretty cool. But not as cool as this. So we're having to kind of like stumble again while Allie and I try to figure out what Scott does. But we're going now. This piece, this is actually the third sitting, right? Is that third? Third sitting on this piece, and it is kind of a hybrid creation. I've got these. So Jeff here, and you guys will know Jeff's work if you saw it. He's got some of my more popular tattoos online. He's got the big kind of back piece, one of my favorite back pieces I've done in the last while of the kind of. I assume she's a woman, the big lady in the yellow kind of coat with the dock exploding behind her, and you can't see her face, and her face is all in the shadows. He also has the sleeve where we covered up the really deep black band. It's like the white ink over black episode. So he's been on here a few times before. But so Jeff is in artificial intelligence. So he wanted to come up with something with like, we were kind of thinking about like a symbiotic relationship between nature and technology. And so we started doing it, and he also, there was an artist that he liked that we used as kind of influence, these robots. I drew my own versions of them, but these robots are kind of influenced by a painter that he likes. It turned out to be like a 13-year-old girl, is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
But she's awesome. She's really good. So I hope that I drew them better because I'm 46, I'm not 13, I draw for a living, but she's really good. So I had my work cut out for me. So what we did here is what we're working on the outer leg here today is this robot that's kind of reading a book, so machine learning, And then we've got this big, he's sitting in a boat with a kind of a big octopus behind him, and the octopus's tentacles are falling down into the water, and we've got another robot on the other side of the leg that I don't think we'll get to. We may. We'll see how far we go today, but I don't think we'll get to today. But what I'm going to do is I've got a lot of blues in the water. I'm going to use kind of a primary palette of like blues, reds, and yellows. But I'm going to do it in what I think is kind of a clever way. I'm going to the underwater. How well can you see down here? The underwater area. If you move your leg up just slightly, is in these two, and this is still healing from a few weeks back. Is in these kind of teals, and then the top of the water. So we're going to go from underwater to above water. So the underwater I'm going to do in these kind of teals, and I'll saturate them. I'm going to go a little richer ultramarine blue into these teals, and then the top of the water I'm going to do in more like true blues, like King's blue or cobalt blue. So so you can see the transition from above water to underwater. And then we got a gnat or something in here. And then I'm going to in the robot I'm going to do them in like golds. So I'm thinking kind of like C3PO or something. So I'll have like blues and then brick reds into coppers into yellows. So I'll have all my primaries in my kind of foreground elements. And I think in the back I'm just going to do like a straight opaque gray for the sky. And then I'll start pulling some like secondary colors into like the umbrella up here and into the octopus. I'm going to do some like muted purples in the octopus probably. And I don't know about the umbrella yet. The way that I like, when I don't know exactly what all I'm going to do, I'll typically just start with what I do know. And I do know that I wanted the water to be this color. And I do know that I wanted a kind of copper, copper and gold robot. So I'll start with what I know, and then I'll let that dictate my next step from a color standpoint. Everything good over there, Allie? Mm-hmm. Cool. When I get back over here to refill my ink, I might get you to switch over to to my ink setup, and I can kind of show people what my color palette looks like for today. But let us know in the comments if you are where you're tuning in from, and if you are tattooing today, what are you working on? Or if you're just drawing today. Or if you don't even draw and you just like to watch tattoos happen. You can tell us all that. Going through doing my shadow shapes first. I typically will work from background to foreground, but I know that these opaque grays in the background are going to be pretty light behind this robot. I want my strongest contrast in the robot, and I don't want to a little more dark to light today. Okay, switch over to your to my other one here. Okay, so what I've got here in on my palette, I've got just like some straight black, and then this is a color that I use a lot. That is it's one of the few Eternal inks that I use. It's called Dried Blood, and it's almost like a perfect black. You can't tell even what color it is. It's super like slippery and like oily on top, but it'll mix out into most any color. It works great as a dark going into a red, going into a green, going into a blue, whatever. It's a great like way to get from black to a brighter color. I use it. I put it out basically every tattoo for that reason. And then I've got like kind of a deep brick red here, a deep red. And then I've got I don't even know what this color is called. It's like it's like kind of a brownish orange, a muted tone. You know, a bright kind of gold, a lighter yellow, a yellow ochre. So these are my main kind of colors for the robot here, and I just didn't know which ones I was going to use, so I'll kind of work back and forth between all these. And then, of course, anytime I put out reds, anytime I put out a color, I'll put out its complement so that I can neutralize it. So I've got greens over here to mix the reds into if I want to neutralize the reds more, and I've got purples here to mix the yellows into in case I want to neutralize the purples. In case I want to neutralize the yellows. And then I've just got some straight grays that I'm going to use in the background. So that's basically it. There's all my warms, you know, my reds, my yellows, the complements that I'll use to neutralize them. I probably won't use any of these colors straight. And then my grays and a white. That's it. Pretty simple. Simple palette. That's how I roll. We talk a lot on the show about people putting out 45 inks for every tattoo, and I understand it. You know, it overwhelms me, and I end up not using most of them. So I'll put out just kind of what I think I'll use, and if I need to get something out mid tattoo, I'll take a break and do it. But I've got this wall of inks behind me that I've just bought, like having sets of inks and stuff, and I find that I like only use a fraction of them. So just working on my shadow shapes here. This color that I'm using right now is basically that Dried Blood straight. I don't use it straight a whole lot. Sometimes I will, and just in how do you say, just in this like deep shadows. For the most part, I mix it out into other colors. We've got a cover up, which you can't see too well. It has like some text and almost like a logo here that we're covering in the octopus. So I'm going to punch a lot of contrast right in front of it in the robot's shoulder here. Then I'm going to try to continue to mute the cover up so that the attention is drawn more to the robot. So I've got the robot here, and I've got, I don't know how well you can see it, but behind here you can see the octopus's eye. So I'll have like this focal point and this focal point, and then it'll help detract attention from here. I also have like just where the light's catching a tentacle, and the sucker's just above the cover up. So I've got all this kind of like candy, all this eye candy like around the cover up. So the focus is to just not even recognize the cover up. And that's always the best way to approach a cover up in my mind, is to distract from it, rather than to get too caught up in like getting it all covered. A lot of times when you focus too much on getting the cover up covered, you end up drawing more attention to it, unintentionally.
When Color says, "Hey y'all, yes, I love looking at palettes."
Oh, what's up, Faith? That's Faith Wynn. She's got a new. We're gonna have Faith on the show soon. She's got a new kind of color system. I don't guess it's that new anymore. She's been talking about it for a while, but I'm excited to learn a little more about it. Yeah, so.
Need louder sounds.
Say what?
Samsky said need louder sounds.
Need louder sounds?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Oh, like the volume of. I don't know which camera it's using for audio. If it's using the.
3 right now. It's that one.
I think it should only be pulling one audio, or maybe it's pulling from both.
It should be pulling the one.
Yeah. We need to. We don't have it today, but we'll. I'll try to talk a little louder, and we need to get an actual like lav mic set up on me to make that a little bit easier. You know, one thing that we probably have in my backpack or in that bag is one of those little like those small mics. You know what I'm talking about? You could try to look in the back thing of my backpack, and those little small mics will plug into these cameras, and that might help. We'll see if we can fix that. All right.
Which pocket is what?
The big back pocket on the back side, like where you strap to your back.
This one?
Yeah. And then look through the different things in there. All right, we'll try to see if we can do something about that. And then in the meantime, I'm just going to kind of keep rolling here. So I've got most of my deepest shadow shapes in the robot in order to get that like kind of, you know, gold reflective look. I need really strong contrast. I need some dark darks. So I'm trying to punch those up. Did you find one?
Maybe?
Yep, that's it. And it'll go in that, it will go, if you open that back up, open that zipper back up, there is a little thing that it goes in, that red thing right there. And that, you can put it in there, and then you can, that's a cold shoe that'll mount right to the camera. You wanna try that and see if we get better sound?
Put this little thing on?
Nah, you don't really need that.
Okay.
That's for wind. We don't have any wind in here.
No, we don't. Okay, so you can.
I just put it on this, the camera over me. I think that's probably the best one.
It's more
And it will plug in. Here, I'll stop for just a second. We can plug that in.
I was like, I don't know this is good.
It just plugs into the.
Somebody said that they can hear fine.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Maybe it's just someone else's. Maybe it's just that person's. How do you say that person's?
Patrick now says, reality live stream. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Live streams suck.
And Wynn says, I can hear fine. I've been using Raw's plum, like that kind eternal. It's a
Oh,
black
yeah.
undertone red.
Gotcha. Yeah, you've been using a version of raw for that. Hey Jeff, do you see a little where that plugs in? Should be a little like that thing.
I'm sure.
Teamwork.
Teamwork works.
Makes the dream work.
Yes.
All right, we'll see if that does any better. Now we have an actual mic plugged in. Okay. Oh, get this out of here. But yeah, so any questions, let me know. I'm gonna probably move on to I'm gonna keep working on my shadow shapes here for a minute. I got this book that the robot is reading that I need to figure out what color it's gonna be. And I want to keep it all kind of cohesive. One thing I was painting this last weekend with my buddy Adam Shaw, who's a lot better than me at all things drawing related. And one thing he kept calling me out on was my tendency to like break not really break everything up. We were watercolor painting, and I was painting a lot of separate boats, and he was trying to get me to like chunk them all into one shape. And I recognize that that's like not my strong suit. I'll tend to have too many separate things instead of just like trying to focus on one mass and make that mass work into this mass. And so I want that book to look like it kind of falls in. This is all one kind of shape for me. So I don't want to do anything crazy to make the book stand out because it's not really like a huge focal point. So I'll probably just pull from one of the other colors that are in here and use it in the book. Let's see. Which one of those colors will it be? Probably something kind of neutral and muted. If you want to switch over to this other, let's say we'll go. Let's just try to get like an in between. I'm gonna bump. You can. You did switch over. I'm looking at the screen that hasn't switched yet instead of the monitor. Perfect.
So you don't pay attention to it.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of like go deep red to deep green, and just see if I can get when I get there, and then I'll kind of mix it down with white. So I'll switch back over to this. I'll start with my darkest area of the book here. This is like a big like round shader, 14 round shader or something like that I'll use to get up into the edges. And then we'll pull out of that into something else that'll be kind of like that looks like it belongs with this. All right. Get a nice sharp edge here. So we have contrast off with a robot hand. And then switch out to a mag. Shade it the rest of the way. All right, so I had that. So I had this like brick red, and I went into this darker green. So now I'm going to lighten it. So I'm going to go from the brick red into a little bit lighter green, and then from that, I might bump this white just so slightly and see what we get there. What does that look like? You see that at all? Let's put it on a rag. Okay, let's see. All right, let's switch over back over here. Let's see what we get out of this. This is like some type of a neutral, reddish, I don't know, plum, something. Some color that I know will work because I'm using the same colors that are in the rest of my composition to make it. And I'm laying it over. I'd already done like gray through the whole book, so whatever it is going to be muted because of the gray. That's one thing you can get away with if you're doing gray under your color, especially I only do that like in my shadow shapes for example, like I would, because this is on the shadow side is the only reason I put gray through the whole book. But I can use more straight color over that now because when it settles, it's going to sit alongside that gray and it'll be muted. So I don't have to mute my color as much as I would if I didn't have the healed gray underneath it. Kind of helps me. That healed gray helps me to find a value or to stay within the value range I'm trying to stay in, and it also helps to mute those shadow areas, so I don't have to think as much about it when I'm putting color over the top. Yeah, see, so that's kind of, I don't know how well you can see that, but that fits well with the robot hand. Let's see, I'll do that one more time here. And maybe this time we'll go a little more white. And what's the background? The background is just gray, so maybe I'll just touch the gray so that I start to fall into what my background color is going to be back here. Let the back of that book just fall out altogether. Just trying to think about what's important. And tattooing, we have a tendency to over-render everything because we feel like it's tattoo and you should describe every bit of the form, but just because it's tattoo doesn't mean that you follow separate rules. Like if the pages of the book are important, where the book ends is less important. So I can just kind of let this kind of fall out.
Zombie 1 says scorpion ?
Scorpion, yes. Yeah, this is the scorpion, my buddy. And I'll use this. I've got the Numa 4 set up over there as well that I'll use for lines. I've told people this before, but I use I've got where I use the Numa a lot for lining. I love the Scorpion for solid color packing, and the Numa I don't use as much in the live streams because the mic picks it up. It's so loud. It sounds like a coil, and it's just annoying to listen to in the live streams. Yeah, I've started using the Numa. I don't have to change the cams out all the time. I've just been using the 20% cam on the Numa, and it outlines like a dream. It's the best lining machine to me, the best pen style lining machine I've ever used. All right, so now let's see. We don't know for sure what if our color decisions are right until we put another color with them. So I started. I work mostly in these deep colors. I'm going to start to pull into these brighter kind of gold. So I'm going to go from this burnt orange to this gold and see what I get out of that. I don't even know that I'm going to use this ochre. I got it out just in case this bright, liquid, it's called like liquid gold or something like that, in case that's just too vibrant. But I'm gonna go straight from. I'm gonna try to come straight from these deep reds into something that's kind of punchy. And if I need to, it's a good thing about big tattoos, multi sessions. If I need to make a smoother transition or a softer transition later, I can always find something in between. But I want to get some good contrast so that the robot looks like reflective. So I want some of the changes to, or some of the as the form turns and the light hits it, I want some of those changes to be kind of abrupt, so that it has that look of metal or whatever. So that might be too abrupt, but I'm gonna leave it like that just to see. This is still in that shadow side, so I've got just the slightest bit of gray in here. So I'm gonna go just a little bit darker. I'm gonna go let's see. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go back to that burnt orange with a touch of red. Back and forth between these two, and see just for this side here. I don't want to go too light whenever I got gray under it. The gray will come back through too much and it'll look dingy. So I'm gonna go a little bit richer here, just to this center point. See what we get here. Yeah, with these scorpions, my buddy Ty just got the newest scorpion. This thing, there's a few annoying things about the scorpion, this version of it, and Ty thinks that they solved all the annoying problems in the Scorpion 2 that was recently released, and it has a proprietary battery pack, which I'm not crazy about that, but I'll probably still grab one just to see how it compares to this one. The worst thing about this, I'll hold this up so you guys can see if you have this version of Scorpion. You can tell me if you've ever had this problem. Inside the machine here is like a little sleeve. Huh?
There you go.
On it.
Down.
Here. Good.
Up.
Up.
Just stay right where you're at. Don't move.
Alright. So inside the sleeve there is there's something that receives the cartridges, and it's held in by an Allen screw, and it always strips out and kind of moves around. And so whenever I'm turning, a lot of times when I'm turning the cartridge in, that little interior sleeve will break loose, and the whole thing will just kind of spin, and it'll spin its way completely out. It'll just fall out of the machine. So that's real annoying. And it fell out once, and I lost it. I had to order another one, and it was a pain. And so that's my least favorite thing about the Scorpion. That and this one, I've sent it off to them for the RCA to be repaired. It doesn't work real well with batteries. Like, it cuts in and out with batteries, and so it was so silly. By the time I shipped it to them and they fixed it and sent it back, I basically could have bought a new one, and it still doesn't work. They sent it back and it still has the same problem. So, but I do like the way that it colors. Alright, let's see here. Back to it. Let's see how those colors start to settle in for me there. On the head, before I move any further, I'm going to catch just the top of this eye socket, eyelid. So no one said what they were working on today?
No one said anything about what they're working on.
You guys don't tattoo or something? I thought this was a tattoo show. I thought we we talked about what we were tattooing today.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
Just
the only
being
one
quiet.
that's not. All right.
Maybe they're a little shy today.
Sounds like. All right. Let's see here. Go back to my. I'm gonna use something like this straight orange here, and then I'm gonna catch wherever like this transition is gonna take place. I need another like, I don't know, like halftone area or something where the reflection is gonna happen. Somewhere probably around there. Scrub that in kind of light so I can manipulate it.
Amber said, I'm drawing flash art today.
Oh, nice. Drawing flash art. That's always good.
Mm-hmm.
Wish I made more time to draw flash. I've been talking, Allie and I have been talking for a while about me just like putting out stuff that I want to tattoo and just finding people that want to get that. And I've done it with a couple of smaller pieces and it's worked. We've had success. But I want to do it with like big pieces, you know, sleeves, back pieces, bodysuits. Similar to what Teresa Sharp does. I just haven't made the time to do it. But Teresa doesn't actually draw everything in advance. She just throws the ideas out and she's got a dedicated enough following that they're just like, yeah, I want that. So they don't even have to see it first, which is pretty cool. Okay, so go switch back over to these. I'm gonna, for this eye socket, this other side of the eye socket, I'm gonna kind of bump from that burnt orange reddish into a green, and it'll just barely mute it enough. Right, you go back just to be on the shadow side of this eye socket. Yeah, perfect. Might actually pull that even down where I put this brighter color. This is on the light side of the face, but I want the like nose to stand out, so I don't want the bridge of the nose, like the side of the nose, to be too bright. Yeah, I like that better. I'm actually going to cover my lighter orange with that over here too. So I was saying earlier, like you really don't know if a color is right until you start to lay other colors around it. And once you do that, it really helps you to determine like, you know, what's working and what's not. Because it's not about, there is not, I mean, no color is wrong. It's about the color relationships, right? So until you get like at least 3 colors down, it's hard to know what any of the relationships are. So that's why I was
Sarah
kinda,
May always said it's quite quiet. Jake, can you get out the Dan Cuban if you're the one tattooing? Huh?
too quiet for him.
I guess so. I was like, we've
Yeah.
done everything we can do.
I mean, we can make it louder if you want. Oh, she's talking about the machine, I think. Yeah, the Dan Cuban is much louder. I don't even use it for that reason, and that's sad because it's an awesome machine.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do the same thing here. A little bit of orange to green. Mute that orange just slightly. Then I'm gonna come through. I want this like, kind of want the bottom, like his whatever this is, like his chin or jaw or whatever. I really want it to look like, I might have gone too green on that. Get a little more orange. That's one thing, whenever you're mixing complementaries like that, it's real easy to end up crossing the boundary to the other color, you know what I mean? It doesn't happen, it's harder to do from reds to greens, it's real easy to do from yellows to purples. Alright, so I'm just gonna wash this in. What I was gonna say though, I want this like, this shape to look like almost like a 5-gallon bucket or something like that. I just want it to be a big round sweeping shape. See, and I like the reason that I mix so much in the tube. I don't know just how well you can see this. I'm gonna wipe it down, but the reason I mix so much in the tube and I don't get too caught up in like what color something is. I like for that like all these coppers are a little bit different from each other, and I just like that. I think it kind of looks like it shimmers a little more that way rather than having like one or like from black to burnt red to orange, and then that same orange is here, and the same orange is here, and the same orange is here. I like if I'm mixing slightly back and forth, none of these are exactly the same. And I just think that has a more painterly look. I think it looks more like sophisticated. A lot of times tattoos, you know, they just get over. I like the idea of them being simple, but I want them to look smart, you know, sophisticated, like I knew what I was doing. And I think that that kind of painterly look gives that sophistication to me. All right, so let's see that too. And another thing that happens as you, you know, as you're mixing those complementaries back and forth is these the little ink caps end up being completely kind of different colors, which is cool. If you do any, you know, oil painting, you know, like you kind of make these piles of color that are all mixtures, and then as you move on to different parts of the painting, you're always mixing from your mixtures. You're almost never pulling straight color anymore until you need to like reestablish that mixture. But that's the best thing about it. And you get to a point where it's just impossible to even know what color you're putting down because you've got these piles of, you know, color that are all these, you know, mixtures of other colors. And I kind of try to treat tattooing the same way. So back here, so these are all a little more muted as I go back here. I want this to stand. This is the back shoulder, so I want it to be back behind, you know, the head and this shoulder. So that these colors back here are a little less intense. I'm gonna leave that little highlight there, just so I'll have it later. And speaking of like leaving highlights to have later, I've been working to be a better watercolor painter. Like plein air watercolor outdoor painting, and that is the biggest challenge, is knowing where to leave your light areas. I find that I just do it kind of haphazardly and then turn whatever the highlights are, whatever whites of the page is left, I just start turning those into things without any real planning. It's amazing to me when I look on Instagram at these really high level watercolor artists that like have all the highlights on the tops of these people's shoulders, and they're all in the distance, and they're like, this dude's wearing a little white hat and like whatever, but they're all so simple and they're way off in the distance, so the characters are like, you know, a quarter of an inch tall, but all the highlights are just right. Dan Marshall can do all that stuff, and the guy that he learned from, I've been following a lot, his name's Joseph Zabukovich. I won't try to spell it, but man, that guy's watercolor paintings are crazy, and if you look at where he leaves his highlights, it's crazy. It's just nuts that he has the foresight, you know, to do that. All right, so I'm going to introduce a new color just to see how they work together. So I've got gray background, and I think I'm going to do kind of a muted purple in this in the octopus. So let me just grab like a cool gray here. I've still got a little bit of that orange in my tube, but that's cool. Let's start with that. Let's see, I'll go here and see what I get. And I'm going to immediately pull it to purple. I don't know that I have a dark enough purple for this, but I'll find out in just a second. Always go with this purple and just barely touch this thing and see if I can see what that does for me. This is that color I was talking about, the mute. Why can't I ever think of the name of it? Dried blood. Dried blood?
Dried blood.
It should be easy to remember. Should be. Yeah, so that turned my purple into much deeper purple. What I have is that light purple. Alright, so let me see. I'm going to start back here with the purple and just hit the top side of it. Let's see what I get. Let's see what happens. Maybe. Let's see. Back here, that's fine, but I might want it to get a little more intense as it comes forward. Alright, mix that into the straight purple and into that gray. Which gray did I just dip in?
That one.
Rewind that. Okay. just kind of folds back on itself. How you feeling, Jeff?
Okay.
Alright. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. And then I'm gonna go more like, I'm gonna go from purple, I'm gonna bump into this brick red. Purple to red. Warm that purple up a little bit. And then maybe even this one too. Then back to this one. Okay, then this one. That's it. Alright, now let's try this. Now we'll get down here. See if that's, yeah, I like that purple. I don't want the octopus to really like stand forward right here because it's less important than the robot. We gotta remember our hierarchy. I also, you may notice, like just with my tattoos in general, but you can tell with this one that I'm kind of just like, I'm not like making little circles and really packing the color in. I'm kind of just introducing the colors to see what the relationships look like. And what I'll have is kind of, when this heals, I'll have kind of an underpainting, and then I'll come back and saturate more some areas. A lot of areas I'll leave as the underpainting. Then I'll come back with like small liner configurations and add textures. Smooth out blends, make some colors, you know, more rich and vibrant, some darker, some lighter, but I don't try to attack it all at once. Yeah, that's just my process. It's not, I don't think it's a very common tattoo process. I don't know a lot of tattooers that work the same way that I do, but I like it. I just like to see what, you know, what the underpainting looks like in the skin when it's healed, and then I can come back and punch it forward however I need to. Mute it out, whatever I need to do. I'm gonna let that purple come up and kind of fall out right here. And now,
Yoda's, or Yoda, I don't know how to pronounce your name, I'm sorry. I'm still waiting for an email to reset my Fireside login to work on this simplified course. Help.
oh no, you're waiting on a password to reset the, say it again?
He said, I'm still waiting for an email to reset my Fireside login to work on the simplified course. Help.
Will you email, whoever that is, will you email Scott at firesidetattoo.com and tell him that? And he can get you set up. We'll shoot him a text too and tell him to look for the email. Sometimes the emails will go to spam or, you know, junk folder. I would check that first, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that would happen. I'm just a picture drawer. Alright, but yeah, Scott can get you set up on that. Let's see here. We'll rinse my needles out. Let this kind of settle for a second and see what I think about, oh, I just have to move just a little bit. Let's see, move me back like that. Maybe. Is that okay? Alright, so I'm gonna come in with some of these straight golds back here, just see. I kind of like, so when it goes back here, I want the back of the head to come forward. So I'm gonna pull into this gold a little bit, but I may end up like grabbing the background color, that gray, or maybe even like a blue, a blue gray, and pulling that in from the back, so that the back of the head doesn't swing forward on me.
Amber said it took me some time to convince my clients that multiple sittings made better tattoos, but they get it now and they come back for more.
Yeah, it's kind of, it is partially just like, you know, making your clients aware that you'll always have a better result in multiple sittings. I mean, even if you get, and it's not that you can't get, you know, solid tattoos in a sitting, it's that you just can't get the like, I can't get like the sophistication and complexity and stuff that I want in the tattoos. All this, like the subtlety, you know, when I see how something settles and I know, you know, I'm clear on what my hierarchy is, and I know that I want this like head to pop forward and this to go back. I can make all the right moves to make that happen, and it'll look great when it's fresh. But then when it comes back, it's like, oh, I can actually spend another hour really dialing this in and setting this back. I can really sculpt those lines up more and color line these, and so that we get more separation. And that's just not a decision the skin just doesn't allow you to do that in a single sitting. really. So yeah, I agree. Alright, so I'm gonna go here with these two, and I'm gonna just bump I'll hit the screen just slightly. Just slightly. Just a little. There we go. Perfect. Alright, so I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna come just on the underside of the bridge of the nose. And this will be slightly more muted than the part of the nose that's directly in the light. I'll actually go ahead and connect this to this shape. See, and those probably they're definitely not the same color, but they're close enough that your eye will kind of blend them, and it'll read like kind of painterly. Still, this blend right here, I'm not crazy about, but I'm gonna let it sit for a while, just from my dark to this red that I did earlier. It just looks a little hollow to me, so I'll come in and feather that a little better soon. Not right now. Let's see. I'm gonna go here, bump this darker green back to here, back to here. I'm just kind of looking at the needles every time I touch a color, and just asking myself if I want it like warmer or cooler or darker or lighter. And that's what's telling me where I need to dip. You're good. Come in here and hit this little top bit of the robot's head. We're almost through our hour already.
We are.
Look at us.
Flew by.
Yep. We're gonna wrap it up in probably about 10 minutes or so, or not the tattoo. We're gonna be working on that for another 5 hours, but the live stream we're gonna wrap up in the next like 10 minutes. So any questions or comments or any of that stuff, feel free to share them, and I'll do my best to reply if I know the answers. Started a little bit late, but yeah, I think that's mainly what I didn't like about this top piece, is that I kind of given the illusion that it's overhanging a little bit, but I didn't like pull it far enough. So I'm gonna do that. I do this kind of easy, I'm trying to read the skin to make sure that I'm not pushing the tattoo beyond its limits in any one area, which I've known to do from time to time, but I don't care. It's my skin now.
Carrie said, "What's the best voltage when shading?"
There's not a best voltage when doing anything. It's dependent on, every machine is different. The area of the body, the way that you move your hand. The most important thing is that the machine is working at the way that to your marks, and that you're not having to change the way that you make marks to compensate for the machine. So the tool should serve you so that you can draw the way that you draw. So what I would do if you're trying to, I don't know if you're talking about like coloring or like black and gray shading, but I would start with your machine at a fairly low voltage, say 6.5 volts, and start shading just the way that you would normally shade if you were doing it with pencil and paper. And then stretch the skin when you're doing it. Shade an area, small area, wipe it, and then just pay attention. Is it doing what you want it to do? Is it getting real red and puffy and bleeding a lot? Is it looking like you're just scratching the surface and not getting any ink in the skin? And then that'll tell you whether you need to run the machine faster or slower. But it's really like it really just has more to do with your own kind of mark making, and also the machine. The machines are all, with rotary machines, they're all using different motors that require different voltages. So for example, whenever I'm using this Numa, I run that thing at like 5.8 to 6 volts. It's such a powerful little motor that I run it super slow. But doing the solid color with the Scorpion here, I've got it at 7.8 volts. And now that's faster than I would normally run it, but I started the session running it slower. Oh, actually, I noticed it in the last session. Jeff's like leg skin is kind of tough. It's just hard to get, the ink just doesn't fly in it the way that it does on his back. So like when I tattooed his back and arm, I probably ran the machine at 6.5 to maybe 7 volts. And on his leg here, I'm running it at 7.8. Same person, just different part of the body. So rather than like committing to a voltage that you like, you know, that you're dedicated to, you really just need to learn to read the skin, start at a low voltage and work your way up or down based on, you know, the results that you're getting. Reading the skin is the most important thing. You have to learn to look at it. And if you don't know like how to do that, the key is to look at your heel tattoos. So if you're just starting out and you're doing tattoos, you know, photograph them when they're fresh. Take, you know, good photographs of the areas that you're uncertain about. So if something got really angry in the middle of the tattoo, let's say like this area right here that I've been working, that I'm not happy with the transition. It's a little muted. Let's say I get to the end and I'm like, ooh, that looks kind of funky. I would photograph that. And then when he comes back, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's how that heals. That's what it looks like fresh, and that's how that heals. And so then you start to build like a bank of information, you know, based on actual experience rather than just, you know, guessing. But yeah, make sure you're seeing your heel tattoos. Super important.
Carrie said, thanks for your answer and really appreciate it. I'm new to tattooing. Thank you.
No problem. You are welcome. Let's see. Let me get away from the robot's head for a minute. Move down to this arm. I just want to see what these different golds and coppers look like as it settles. Here, we'll do that and then we'll wrap it up. I'm gonna go back to these two guys and then just a touch into this green. Oop, too much green. Gotta learn to master that, like that touch. Master the touch. A little bit of white. Maybe a little bit of gold. A little bit more gold. That's all. All right, let's see what that is. That works. Perfect. Get a little bit just on the top. So is that it for our questions? I know we're just about at
I think so.
2 o'clock. Well, I'm gonna finish coloring this robot. I'm gonna eat at some point. I need some food sooner than later.
That does not move.
And yep. And then we will see you guys. When's our next live stream?
The 24th.
The 24th.
1 p.m.
24th at 1 p.m. Set your calendar. That's when we'll do this again. And get your questions ready. I'll be working on my buddy Tim Kelly. For the most part, doing these live streams, I'm going to work on like clients that I am super familiar and comfortable with. And I know that sit well and don't squirm and act crazy. So you'll likely see Jeff again if you follow these. And my friend Tim Kelly, I'll be working on the 24th. He has a full torso piece that is owl and black snakes. And we are on the downside of that tattoo. Actually, we probably have like 3 more sessions left on it. So you'll see that one getting close to completion if you tune in on the 24th. Look at that hand. Shit. That was good. All right. Thanks, everybody. And if you go, we're trying to do a little better about our emailing. So if you go over to Fireside Tattoo, there may be a subscription link in is it in the video description here? If not, we'll add it later. But yeah, if you subscribe, you'll stay up to date with where we're going to be and when we're going to when we live stream and all that kind of stuff. We'll also post it to our social medias. Thank you.